little tad bit about the market I just wanted to share. I've been trying to grapple with what's wrong, and I think I finally figured it out. And I just think it's ultimately like the consumer and the economy tied to the rates, right? Think about, I'm looking at the room, many of us are north of 40, some north of 50. How hard it was years ago to get yourself in financial trouble. Like before the phone. You'd have to get in your car, drive to Macy's or Dillard's and swipe your card and spend $1,000 you shouldn't and go into debt. Today, the darn widgets make it so easy to make mistakes. Order your breakfast to home and pay triple. You know, don't go to the store and let Instacart shop it, or the Amazon overspending without anybody like telling you that you shouldn't do these things. So it's kind of rigged against the consumer, and the consumer's never been strong enough to really say no when it comes to credit and spending money, and everybody's broke. I mean, today on the stock channel, 60% of Americans are paycheck to paycheck. So the people who figured it out and have the money, have the house, they're scrapping by to keep the house and make the payment. They're not moving up or down because they don't have extra. And the people we're trying to move in are renting because rent is cheaper. So we're really working with like a really small niche of folks that can do it. And we're not financial advisors. Like, these people have to figure this out for themselves. So I think when you guys are prospecting and try to procure buyers and stuff, your question really is like, can you do it? And are you willing to sacrifice? Because they got to give up those $5 coffees, and they got to give up maybe the $700 car payment. You lenders know, right? The car payments are killers. You know, buy the $15,000 car that'll go 300,000 miles and don't have the fancy car payment. So I think it's the consumer has been taxed with all the temptations of how easy it is to spend. And I just don't think there's a lot of people who can actually afford to buy homes today. And so, but the good news is we have a balanced market because we don't have a flood of sellers. If we had like 20, or remember the 20,000, 30,000, our prices would be down, and that would be bad for commissions, and it'd be bad for our equity for you guys who do own homes. So I wouldn't complain about the market, but honestly, like, it's the economy. And until we start paying people a little more and people start learning to save a bit more, like, I think we're here for a little while. So complaining about the environment's not going to change anything. There's no magic pill to get more business. It's a communication business. The more people you talk to, some of those people will be able to do it. And then some will be, what did that guy say? It envisioned not right now. 80 or 90% are not right now. And you just try to keep those people warm. There's only like 5 or 10% that are like right now or soon. And I think that's where we go. So I just wanted to share that about the economy and the market. I've been grappling with kind of why we don't have the units, and that's what I think it is. And I think that's across the board nationally. I think people just can't do it with the environment and the economy. Yeah.
Thanks, George, because I really thought I had an issue, an addiction to shopping.
No.
It's so easy. It's
it's espionage. They know when you're home. You know Amazon owns Ring? So if you have a Ring camera, a Ring doorbell, it knows when you pull in. So when do you think they hit you and say, do you want to buy some more stuff? Like it's rigged to spend. And they say, oh, don't pay now, pay later.
Yeah.
Pay 25%.
Or pay in
like,
small amounts.
Yeah, it's us, but it's harder than ever to say no. So it's not you, it's us. And I think we actually, the sadder part is realtors are part of the paycheck to paycheck story too. Many of us are having a hard time, not making what we used to make, took on a little bit more, obligations than we maybe should have. And so we are part of that story as well. So it's doubling down and trying to grab a couple of transactions to be able to afford what we have. So household income went up like 1% year over year, and inflation went up like 3.5%.
Yeah, great. That's
so and then if they had bad spending habits along with that, it was a double whammy, right? So the dollar didn't stretch as far as it should have, and then they spent more than they probably should have. You need to go the other way in that environment. They need to be hunkering down, more home cooked meals, sharing the car, carpooling, going to the store instead of doing a push the button. Like, those are things that Americans are going to have to do to dig themselves out of this.
I recently saw an article about after years of it staying low, foreclosures are starting to tick up. Right. And the spin on it was you could get your entry level. 5 years into that, I just thought it was an interesting spin.
Yeah. So Tom is an expert in that space. He has an REO account. He's selling homes. You got to watch the clickbait because it's up significantly. But if there used to be 50 a year and now there's 500 a year, although it's 10x, 500 out of 2.5 million people is a minuscule number. So the numbers are raised up a lot, but you know, there were a lot of Band-Aids put on with forbearance and pushing payments to the back, and so some of that's running out. So now, like, the rubber meets the road on that. The blessing that everybody has is home equity, right? The prices are still high. If we see a dip in prices, you're really going to see pressure. But if we see prices maintain, then people can actually sell the house and maybe, you know, still walk away. It's people bought a house a few months ago that you know, bought at the top that might not have the money to sell are the ones that I think would be in problems. And the other thing, I think we all know this about the market, but people are paying extra high for the house, and then the seller's having to pay both buyer's agents, buyer closing costs, all the title fees, buy downs. So the sellers are paying like 10%, believe it or not, a lot of times. So that's driving the price high. So that's what's keeping the market higher. What you don't want is a bunch of cash buyers coming in paying 90% and not asking for the fees, because that'll drop prices, and then that'll push the REO market up. So I don't think that's a big boom right now, but the economy is obviously something that you want to watch. You want to see jobs. They have laid people off at the Strip. And I think they're doing it on purpose. I think what the hotels learned in Vegas was, remember COVID when they made rooms $60, $70? You guys remember? Did you ever go down there? It was scary. You were afraid to get in an elevator. You get killed. People, you know, it wasn't, it was a rough crowd. And so now, when the occupancy drops, instead of lowering the room to $99, they're going to go, you know what? Let's run our hotel at a lower occupancy percentage, but charge more, bring a higher caliber customer in that might spend more at the restaurants and gain more, but then they got to lay off or give less hours to the bellmen, the housekeepers, the wait staff, and everything else. So it's like Vegas running on like a little bit of a slow, you know, like a little bit of a low mode. So we're not pushing at 100%. So I think until we get to where they can't find help, that's when you have to pay the next guy more. Like in California, when things got tough, like at the restaurants, my uncle owns a couple hamburger places. He used to pay $20 an hour, then he went to 23. Couldn't get any help because he had to pay more. But when there's a lot of labor, they can pay less or they can cut hours. So it's supply and demand, it's economy. So I think that's where we're at. So one other little thing I learned was they're building apartments again, a lot. They're out there. They're back to the apartments. So the apartment guys seem to think that there's another boom coming. That's pretty good usually from an economic standpoint, because usually like people don't like to put millions of dollars into things if they don't think people can pay. But it also tells me they think more people might rent than buy, and the people coming from California that have $2,000 a month aren't going to want a $250,000 house. They'll go buy one of these luxury or rent one of these luxury apartments. So the apartment people are coming back.
They're so ugly on the outside. They're so stark and sharp and gray and, you know, not pretty.
But there's a whole group of people that only know that lifestyle.
I know.
And they've never had the blessing of the walls and the little grass and the little thing, all the things that we know what the benefits are and why we push for it. So,
No, you're right.
yep. So I thought I'd share that. Sorry I went a little longer. Thank you.